I remember Buckner had gone to some conference or something in Atlanta and came back, and that church had had an intercessory prayer ministry. And so he decided that we should too. And so he told Johnny White, and Johnny then, he said he just immediately knew it was Pat Coventry was going to be the leader of that.
Wow.
So Pat became the prayer ministry coordinator, and, from scratch, did our prayer room and prayer ministry, and I was on her team at the beginning, and ever since 1993, I'm here, on Wednesday at 11 o'clock. So, and just the treasure it is to be able to talk to somebody on the phone and to write the prayergrams is a wonderful thing, I think, that our church does.
Hi, my name is Sarah Sensenig, and today I get the privilege of sitting down with Phyllis Patterson, and we're going to be talking about TBC's long history of supporting and empowering women in ministry. So thank you so much for joining me, Phyllis.
You're welcome. Thanks for asking me.
Of course. Phyllis, would you start off just by introducing yourself, telling us a little bit about you and your story and how you came to Trinity Baptist Church and how it became home for you?
Be glad to. I grew up in Garland, outside of Dallas, and grew up at First Baptist Church in Garland, and then went to Baylor and went to First Baptist Church in Waco, and we're in Sunday school, and one for a Sunday school party, our teacher called and asked if I and a friend could pick up somebody who didn't have a way to the party. Well, that somebody was Randy Patterson.
Oh.
And so we met our freshman year that way and dated on and off, and then I graduated and went and was a speech therapist in Arlington for 2 years, went to First Baptist Church in Arlington, and then Randy finished law school, and then we got married in 1976. And that he had a job down here, so that's what brought us to San Antonio, and all of our family was in the Dallas area, and so it was just us, which was really fun. And so we had heard Buckner a lot of times at Baylor, and so we figured we would end up at Trinity, but we went on and visited other churches and all, but then did end up at Trinity. And as I recall, the whole dining room was full of newlyweds.
Wow.
And, we were all looking for friends, and so we had visited with a couple one Sunday, so I went up to Dick and Paula Peacock, were our directors, and asked if we could have the phone number so I could call them during the week, and Dick said, yeah, and he said, and then y'all can be our new outreach directors. So I've always either thanked or blamed Dick and Paula Peacock for all that we've done at Trinity Baptist Church, because they started us off. But our friends now are friends that we made in that Sunday school class, and our best friends. And some of them still go to Trinity, some of them don't, but they're still our best friends. Our kids all grew up together, and so Trinity definitely was, with our family being all away, it was definitely that caring family of believers to us and our two boys.
Yeah, you're home away from home.
Right.
That's really beautiful. And one of the things I think is so interesting about your story with Trinity is you were one of the first ever female deacons that got to serve at Trinity Baptist Church. And so I would really love if you could share about that. And that's a distinctive thing, not just for Trinity, but churches, especially Baptist churches in general. So could you share that story with us?
Right. I think back in the 1990s, that was really the conversation in a lot of Baptist churches as to what to do. And we had a deacon nominating committee like we do now, and they were toying with what to do. And there was a church planning committee, which I don't really know what their job was and who was on it, but the deacon nominating committee went to them and asked, what to do. So then they asked Buckner to, say what he thought, and then we had I went through the history book is where I've gotten some of this.
Love that.
We had a town hall meeting where everybody was able to discuss and give their opinions. And then we had a survey of the congregation. And from that survey, 69% said yes, we should.
Wow.
22 said no percent. And 9% were undecided. And so at that point, that church planning committee told the deacon nominating committee that they could nominate whoever passed the qualifications. And so September of 1994, it was a standing room only group in the dining room
Wow.
to vote. And pardon me,
Oh,
in the
no.
end, there were four of us. Four women deacons were on the list. And Eloise Kalina was one of them, and Kay Ingram, that's a member of the church now, that's
Yeah.
her mother. Betsy Thrift was another with our Thrift Chapel.
Wow.
Paula Long was another, and she was teaching a Sunday school class down at the Rubel Center at the time, which she still teaches right now, the same
Wow.
class, and then myself. And one side note was that, Eloise and Betsy were both widows. Paula was single, so I was the only married widow, married, not widow, married deacon at the time. So Randy and I were the only ones that needed to get babysitters for deacons meeting.
Yep, been there.
Nobody else, they always had
Wow.
somebody. So that was unique. But, it's always been a true honor to be with all of those, the men and now the women. There are 51 women deacons now.
Incredible.
And, a lot of them have been deacon chair, trustee chair. Half of
Right.
our pastoral staff are women.
Yeah.
So, we have made the decision and stuck by it and flourished because of it, I think.
I love that. And that's such a beautiful example to see something that's happened. I guess that was 30 years ago. And that has had a tremendous impact over the decades. It's just such a cool story. And I think it had an impact not only on Trinity Baptist, but other churches were able to see that and follow suit and just opening up the door for future women to come and serve in that capacity as well. And so thank you for being brave and courageous and
You're
a
welcome.
trailblazer.
I kind of went back and forth, on it, but then, I decided, and, different people encouraged me and all, so that helped. So.
Yeah, that's wonderful. How has it affected you to watch other women lead and serve, and for you to be able to do that in the capacity that you've been able to do? I know you mentioned that you're a deacon, and you can also share the other ways that you serve at TBC, but how has that impacted you as a person to not only be able to do that, but to watch other women do that as well?
Right. I'm very thankful to be a part of a serving family of women. My mother in the 1940s went to Southwestern Seminary
Yeah.
and got her Master's of Religious Education, and then
Wow.
was the first youth director at First Baptist Garland, which was my church that I grew up in.
So it was in your DNA.
It was.
Yeah.
And then my sister had been the women's minister at her church in Austin for about 7 years. And then one of our daughters-in-law teaches and preaches at her church in Tulsa.
Wow.
So I'm very thankful with my heritage and my family, from then to now.
That's amazing.
And then just the women of the church, are amazing. And, thinking back to Rebe Lawler was the children's minister when our boys were growing up. And so they learned and they were loved and they were taught everything, by her and by all the wonderful workers in the children's ministry. And so, she was definitely one that was important in all of our lives.
Yeah.
And then I remember Buckner had gone to some conference or something in Atlanta and came back, and that church had a intercessory prayer ministry, and so he decided that we should too. And so he told Johnny White, and Johnny then, he said he just immediately knew it was Pat Coventry was going to be the leader of that.
Wow.
So Pat became the prayer ministry coordinator, and from scratch, did our prayer room and prayer ministry, and I was on her team at the beginning, and the people on the team were able to pick whatever time they wanted to do their prayer room hours. So, back in 1993, I think I picked Wednesday at 11 o'clock, and ever since 1993, I'm here, on Wednesday at 11 o'clock. So
Wow.
that time and place has worked for me.
And what a sacred, beautiful
Definitely,
thing
yes.
that can anchor you
Yes.
weekly.
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, you walk out of the room and think, I have no problems, and just the treasure it is to be able to talk to somebody on the phone and to write the prayergrams is a wonderful thing, I think, that our church does.
Yeah, I think one of the things that I hear most from people who are either members or not members, but maybe you're just connected by a family or friend, are those prayergrams that they get when they're going through a hard time or sick or something like that, that they said that has really lifted their spirits.
You can hold on to that somebody is praying for me.
Yeah, it's physical, it's tangible. I know when both my girls have been born, I received some of those, and I keep every note that someone's ever given me. and so I have those yellow note cards in a folder, and whenever I need a little boost of encouragement, that's a really good place to go. This is just one of a series of different conversations we're doing for the 75th anniversary of Trinity Baptist Church. So if you would like to hear more of these conversations, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and YouTube, and you can like and subscribe and watch all of those there. Thank you for being with us today.